Frank,
Yes, sir.
the whole is more valuable than the sum of the parts.
Correct.
That's
That's what it's
the
all about.
underlying issue here. So our code needs to say that if you own a 25-foot lot in downtown Cape Coral, you don't have the same property rights that somebody that owns a 400-foot lot.
You can't have the height, you can't have the density.
See, but that's the problem, is that we need to create a code that incentivizes assembly, and we haven't done that. Everybody gets the same right. I can own a 25-foot lot and build a 6-story building on it. If I could physically do it, I'd be allowed to. And we had little examples of that. I remember pictures. They look like dollhouses, but they go straight up like this. I mean, anything could be done, but that's not what we want necessarily. We want assemblage.
Right, and you can, and as Miami Beach did in the 1980s, you can design a regulatory program that allows greater height and greater density depending upon the lot size.
I'm not sure what the board knows about what's transpired so far, but Emmanuel, Demare, if you'll step up, yeah. The reason this whole thing's come about is because Emmanuel has been in contact with all of these property owners. And he was the one that has been in the conversation to make this thing happen. So he ran into an issue of how to bring everybody together, and that's when he came into our office and was talking to Suzanne, and Suzanne says, you need to talk to Frank Schnidman. So right here you have the gentleman in front of you that's responsible for starting this whole thing off, and I just want to make sure that we get, you know, noted that that's where it's originated. And today we had a meeting with with all the business owners downtown, and it's my feeling, I asked you two gentlemen, it seemed like it was a positive response.
I think you definitely had an infrastructure issue with modern technology.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But what occurred there was the same thing that I think has happened to some of you gentlemen up here is, wow, there's a way that we can really do this. And that's what happens is when you present options and you have open minds. And I saw the lights coming on in these folks' minds today, and I think this is a real genuine opportunity. And I see this is the way of the future for the CRA. So just to let you know, that's where it's come from, and that's what we're looking at right now.
If I may for a second, my approach to these property owners individually was, at the beginning of it, was sincere, honest, open. I wanted to address what their concerns were. I wanted them to tell me what their concerns are, what they needed to have happen, what was important to them as far as for those businesses that are currently running. And I have all of them in my head. I know exactly what everybody needs, what everybody wants. Unfortunately, I didn't have the full attendance of all of the property owners that are involved on that southern block, but I believe we did open up some ideas to some of those business owners today, which was a very positive outlook with what happened today, what transpired today. You asked a question on your approach on how things like this should happen. I'm not an expert, but you know, I appreciate the recognition, Richard, for bringing me up here and allowing me to speak for what I've done, what I've accomplished in, I would say, 8-9 months. I know that there's been other properties that have been assembled in Cape Coral, but they've taken years, and I don't want that to happen with downtown Cape Coral. I don't want that to happen with this project, with what I see as a great possibility for that area. I look at all the vacant land that surrounds all those pieces, especially on the north side of Miramar, on the north side of Lafayette. The way I looked at it was, and I started out really small. I started out with one vacant lot listing. And then I was able to acquire Mr. Huggins' property, which is the 6 vacant parcels, and then luckily I was able to acquire the other 2 next to it. And then I started just working my way around the block. And I looked at all of those different properties, and there was a couple of them for sale. One of the, a few of the businesses weren't generating revenue like they wanted to be. The Oasis restaurant is now for sale. The property next to my vacant land is for sale. Everybody is open-minded, so in that created more of a drive for me to continue my path around the block, and I was able to come up with this vision of, and luckily with the assistance of the CRA and Joe Beck, Mr. Schnibman, we were able to put a presentation together today that I thought was very educational for those skeptical-minded people that think that they want to, hopefully, if we can try and change them from thinking independently to together, I think that's really the main focus. So, is it possible? Of course, and then everywhere else in downtown Cape Coral. I just think of looking at it as looking at the surrounding properties, the neighboring properties, the businesses, what's going on with all of them currently as far as their business, how it's running. Is it running well? Are they looking at expanding? Are they looking at selling? Are they open-minded? Those are all the factors that are involved with trying to assemble a piece of this magnitude. So I'd love to do it again, or I'd love to get this started, because I know if one starts, it'll domino, and it'll go, and it'll keep going. And if we can get the south side to work, I know that the north side would just fall right into place, and it would feed off of what's going on the south side, on that south parcel, and it would just flow. And La Via Mar is what I called the project because of Lafayette and Miramar. It will flow. It will flow from the south all the way up to Cape Coral Parkway if we can make it happen. And I think that all of these property owners, now that they've seen, I think they've seen something today that's itching them in the back of their head, saying that's really possible. Of course, it's going to be, it's more of a challenge now that I have to get everybody on the same page and assemble everybody together to possibly put a joint venture together. But you know, I'm going to continue. I'm not going to stop. Obviously, I'll have some skeptical-minded people along the way. Some people will argue the fact of their percentage being greater, or their thought that their percentage would be greater. Well, that's where we'll have to come in and hopefully bring them to reality, and hopefully tell them that they need to be a little bit more realistic and look at the long-term goal of it versus the short-term goal.
And the point of, and that was the point of my question is how do you establish trust? Frank's done this all over the world. I know that. I had a lengthy conversation with him and how it works. I didn't have the chance, because we were in the middle of a lot of different meetings, to really get into the mechanics of it. You're in the middle of the mechanics of it right now, right? And you know, and while we're the government, we're here to help you, might have worked for George Washington, it isn't going to help today anymore, all right? Because there is general mistrust of the government on every level, from the top all the way down to us. Right? They don't trust us either. All right? So I don't know. And my question to Frank again is, and because he's had so much experience with this, is who is the best lead person? Is it a negotiator like you, all right, who comes in and literally puts everybody at the table, and you've done it time and time again? Is it a realtor? Who's the most likely one to win the hearts and minds and the trusts? Because everybody wins equal here. Nobody gets a greater. Nobody skins this cat any different. Everybody gets the same piece. The wonderfulness about this is that everybody profits in proportion to their participation. It's so brilliant. It's not the one holdout, you know. It's not, and it's not the you know, a lot of the trouble that we get is people say, oh well, this is a fat cat developer coming in and he's going to make $1 million off of my little piece of property, you know. And no, everybody gets to be their own little share of the fat cat developer.